Well, Shannon, this is perfect. I got to ask you about this. How good would LeBron have been as a tight end?
Skip, it's just hard for me to see a scenario in which a guy has not played a sport in a decade plus. Switch positions because he was a receiver in high school. Switch positions and then be not just play a sport, but play a professional sport. Now, Skip, we're not talking about, playing with my homeboys in the backyard or playing in the club. We're talking about the NFL. I mean, I'm glad people think the NFL is easy. Now, and I know people say, well, LeBron is tough, and I'm not here to debate that. I believe he is a tough guy. But there's levels to toughness. A tough NBA player is not the same as a tough NFL player. A tough NFL player is not the same as a tough MMA fighter or a boxer. There's levels to toughness, and there's degrees to this. So for me, you're going to ask LeBron to be a tight end. At that time, Jared Allen, J.J. Watt, DeMarcus Ware, Von Miller, Alden Smith. Those are some of the guys that he's going to be going up against. And having never played that position. Now, he mentioned that he wanted to be a red zone target, so just bring him in and let him throw him up jump balls. And then they're probably going to treat him like Calvin Johnson. He'll get the Gunner treatment where they line two guys up over him because he is 6'8", and he does have supreme jumping ability, Skip. But I don't see a scenario. I'm not saying it can't happen, but I'm going to need to see it before I believe it, that it could happen. I'm going to need to see LeBron James in some shoulder pads. I'm going to need him to see him take some hits before I say LeBron James can play in the NFL. And having been away from the game that length of time and to pick back up in the NFL, not college, but the NFL, I'm going to have to see that before I believe it, even for LeBron James.
This is highly amusing to me because for the first time ever, your self-love has finally overcome your crazy LeBron love, because usually anytime we ever ask any question about LeBron, oh, he'd be great. He'd be impossible. He'd be incredible. He'd be this, he'd be that. Am I right? But now you are literally defending your position, you being in the Hall of Fame as a tight end. So your position on that position is nobody could just step in and do that.
No, Skip, I'm just saying any position. I'm not saying tight end. I'm saying running back, wide receiver, DB. Skip, he hadn't played since his junior year in high school.
Okay, we are talking about the lockout of 2011, 12. It's like going into
it was his second season. They ended up winning the title to be OKC.
Okay,
if I'm not mistaken.
So that is correct. Okay, so the point is, if we subtract 9 years from his life, that he'd be in the heart of his prime.
Right. So he'd been 30, right? No, he'd have been 28.
No.
27, 28, 28, 27.
27.
27.
Okay, so at 27, he'd be in the heart of his athletic prime.
Yes.
And I don't call him 6'8", I call him 6'9", because I believe he is.
Okay.
And I believe he would be able to carry 260-ish, somewhere in there. And at 6'9", do you realize how tall he would be compared to everybody else? I know when I watch an NBA game with LeBron, he just looks like one of the fellas.
Right.
He just looks average to me. But no, he is not average, because who has ever played at 6'9"?
Well, the tallest receiver has been Harold Carmichael, who played at 6'8". 6'8".
Yes.
I don't know if you
well for the Eagles.
Yeah,
yes.
I don't know him because he just went to the Hall.
And Harold Carmichael looked like freakishly tall. He looked like a giraffe out there.
He did.
Right? And if you put LeBron in pads, I was watching some of the old tape from his high school days.
Right.
He just towers over everybody around him. Well, okay, so Gronk is 6'6"-ish?
Yes.
You stood next to Gronk.
Jimmy Graham is 6'7", 6'7" and a half.
Right in there, right in the ballpark, and he played basketball.
Right.
Okay, so is Gronk a legit 6'6"?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, all right, so he is the ultimate, in today's game, red zone target. Okay, so if you took LeBron with his athletic ability and his leaping ability and his competitive nature, well then if you just made him a red zone target, if you said you don't really need to block, he could maybe occasionally try to block if he felt like it, but that would not be a prerequisite for doing this. Would he get knocked around? Would people go out and try to get him and try to teach him a lesson, punish him a little bit? Yeah, but he's not weak.
No.
He is a tough NBA player, right?
Yes,
and it's pretty physical in the NBA, and he has taken a lot of punishment.
Skip,
in fact, I can argue, as the greatest driver of the basketball I have ever seen, I can argue he has taken as much punishment over a going on 19-year career as anybody this side of maybe Shaq
Right.
or maybe Jordan for a few years,
Right.
but Jordan didn't last that long.
But Skip, you do realize you've covered this game too long. You know tough in basketball and
It's
tough
not
in
the
football.
same. Okay, I got
and
that.
you've seen Ronnie Lott hit people, Steve Atwater, and Rodney Harrison, and some of these vicious hitters, Chuck Cecil, Mark Carrier, when they were like literally decapitating people.
Okay, well, not literally, but
I mean, it felt like it.
Yeah, I know. I got it. But listen, LeBron, you think he's one of the greatest athletes we've ever seen.
I do.
Well, then I agree. I don't think Peyton was exaggerating. He was 75. Not maybe that's too many, but if you gave Peyton the ability to just put him out wide, I'd throw him fades or jump balls.
Right.
It would be very difficult to keep LeBron from coming down with the football.
But Skip, then what they started doing when they had Megatron, and it's like, well, we can't. I mean, he was 6'4", but he had a 43-inch vertical.
Mm-hmm.
They says, well, we can't do anything, so they just gave him Gunner. They just lined the two DBs out in front of him and says, okay, now beat both of them.
Okay.
That's what they're gonna do with LeBron. Okay. But Skip, I'm not saying.
But we're talking more red zone-ish, where he would be a little bit of just a luxury to have, where you wouldn't play him every down.
But Skip, you're saying as if LeBron James had played football, was away from the game for a year, and then went back out and picked it back up. You're talking about a decade in which he hadn't played. How many guys put a sport down?
Yeah.
A sport that they hadn't played in a decade.
Well, like we saw what happened to Tim Tebow.
Right.
When he was playing a position he'd never even tried to play.
Thank you.
And had never caught balls at all. At least LeBron caught high school footballs.
Yes.
Tim didn't catch any high school footballs.
And maybe if Tim had gone to college, maybe if Tim had done that when he's coming out, Skip,
No, I
believe he probably could have transitioned.
Maybe.
But I'm not saying, look, there are certain athletes like Deion, but Skip, Deion, I tell you, I couldn't have put the bat down for a decade and went back out there and played baseball. Bo said I couldn't put it down. What did they do, Skip? As soon as one season was over, they picked the season right back up.
I think you're not giving LeBron James enough credit.
No, I'm giving him plenty of credit. No. I don't think they're giving football enough credit.
I'd take him on my team.
He don't want your team. He said he a Browns fan. Did you not hear what he said? He said he a Browns fan.
He said he changed.
Biggest front runner in the history of sports.
You a hater now,
He is forsaking the Dallas Cowboys. Maybe by the end of the game last night, he said, I better get back on that bandwagon because they're coming.
Thank you for watching. You can subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few other segments from our other shows on FS1.